Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, no matter where you are on the planet. Hope you're ready to lock in and enjoy some Dota 2 action. We're moving on to the second round of our Phase 2 Asia qualifiers here on the G-1. That means basically it's win in advance or lose and go home. Well, granted, that's kind of the case in every round, but in this particular instance, we've got the teams who won out through the initial groups making their way into the second round of our Phase 2. Of the Asia qualifier. MUFC, led by winner, going to be taking on Rattlesnake under the tutelage of LANM. MUFC enters play today fresh off a round 1 win over Cyberpink and looking to continue their run through these qualifiers under the stewardship, again, of their fan-favorite captain, winner. Since the departure of Ohio and Net in late January, MUFC has been a team surrounded by questions, equally surrounded by interest and anticipation, though, especially after FCFC and Too Good joined the team earlier this month. Now, since the squad formed in its current iteration, MUFC has enjoyed some consistent success, going 7-3 in their last 7 of 10 series. They were able to snap a 3-series skid with their win over Cyberpink earlier in Phase 2. MUFC is still playing with just their core 3+2 as they look to lock in the remaining roster slots, but if they can snag another win today, they may well be on their way to not only solidifying their new look, but the players on their team as well. Rattlesnake, the new team of old veterans, is going to be back in action. They roll into play today, fresh off a solid win over Gizmo in Round 1, Phase 2. The team is spearheaded by LANM, as mentioned, of former eHome fame. They're a crafty group of veterans who, despite having a lot of upside and a deep well of talent to draw upon, have yet to really be tested and tempered against quality teams in a tournament setting. Their single win over Gizmo has helped pique the interest of the community, but their first real challenge as a new squad will be faced today as they look to derail the momentum Winter and his MUFC squad have gained in recent weeks. So, taking a look at the early bands, Nyx Assassin Magnus taken out of play by MUFC. Not going to be seeing Bat Rider or the Lifestealer, courtesy of Rattlesnake. Rattlesnake going to go ahead and pick up Rattle Trap. That's going to be a clockwork first pick. And I'll tell you, man, watching that hero become more and more popular has really been a treat to see. Since his cogs got buffed, there were a lot of players that I spoke to, a lot of analysts and so on, who knew that hero was going to be seeing a comeback. But I don't think anyone really anticipated he'd be to this point where seeing him first picked is no longer even that big of a surprise. MUFC going to answer the clockwork pick with Lone Druid and Shadow Demon, two very strong heroes. Seeing a Lone Druid come out like this early, and especially with the Shadow Demon pickup, is usually going to indicate an offensive tri-lane is going to be on the way. Lone Druid just really excels if you can put him in a situation where he's able to solo farm a safe lane against 1 or even 2 heroes, just depending on who those heroes are. Rattlesnake with the clockwork pickup. Clockwork, another hero who really does want a solo lane. And 9 times out of 10, you're going to see him wind up, and it's a solo long sort of a hero. There are some really creative things you can do with him. They're like pairing him with a Darkseer. We saw that earlier on. In fact, it might have been Rattlesnake that did it. I can't know. I want to say it was actually MUFC who did it in their first appearance here in Phase 2. And you can confound a lot of heroes. Hell, you can even beat a lot of tri-lanes with a Clockwork plus a Darkseer together running in an off lane, just because of how unbelievably annoying and spam heavy. Yep, and there we are. We're going to see the Darkseer pick up, so not a big surprise. Not saying it's a guarantee those two are going to wind up in lane, but I would not bet against it. Clockwork and Darkseer, between Ion Shell and Rocket Flare, you're able to spam waves down, able to secure last hits, keep the lane pushed if you want to do so. But you're also just so damn mobile, and there's so many ways you can get yourself out of trouble, between dropping the cogs and banging your way out to surge and so on. You can play very aggressive, and challenging that pull camp gets really, really easy as you continue to get more and more levels. You're also able to just go ahead and steal that camp by using Ion Shell as well as the Rocket Flare. So a lot of options open to Rattlesnake so far. Phantom Lancer, the carry pickup in 3rd position. Phantom Lancer, a hero that many people have mixed opinions on. Seen Phantom Lancers win and lose a lot, but he is a bit of a safety belt sort of a hero. You pick up a Phantom Lancer, you're going to have a few things guaranteed for you in the late game. You're going to be a liability. Most teams will not want to go super late against the Phantom Lancer. However, that Phantom Lancer was picked into a Shadow Demon, and Shadow Demon, one of the better counters to the hero just because of his ability to turn Phantom Lancer's advantages against him. His ability to disrupt one of Phantom Lancer's illusions and create a Phantom Lancer army of his own just to stop pushes or to go ahead and push in along with it. So the other real way to derail a Phantom Lancer is just to apply a lot of pressure early on. And when you see Phantom Lancers picked up in the North American and European scene, for example, that tends to be the name of the game. Teams do not like to try to go too late. They like to really try to get in his face early, start taking map control, start taking towers very early on, and just not give him the ability to farm up the 2 core items that usually define a Phantom Lancer, which are going to be Diffusal plus a Heart of Tarrasque. Now, Phantom Lancers do occasionally like to bring out a Radiance, but just to be honest, from an analyst point of view, from a broadcaster's point of view, I don't particularly like the Radiance build on Phantom Lancer anymore. We saw it last time. The last time we saw it in action was actually yesterday, and it did not work out. It ended up getting beat. It's just such a heavy investment early on, and you're really not able to do as much with it unless you get it out very early. Now, if you're able to get it up at like 15 minutes, then fine. But a lot of Phantom Lancers won't even do that. They'll usually go something like their boots, usually going to be Tranquil boots, plus something like drums or even a Ring of Aquila. And delaying out the Radiance that long, especially if you're under a lot of pressure, it can really put your team in a bad spot. It makes it so they have to fight 4-on-5 if the other team decides to go ahead and push. And pushing is going to be the name of the game for MUFC, as they have picked up that Lone Druid, and he's probably going to want to start taking towers pretty early if he can secure a good early game and get himself some solid farm and solid levels. Beastmaster rounds out the first 3 for MUFC, so we're into the second ban phase now. Rubik and Keeper of the Light out from MUFC, just taking out those high-tier supports. And that, is pretty indicative of the fact that, they know that more than likely it's going to be Darkseer or Clockwork or both going in that long lane, so Phantom Lancer really just needing someone to go with them. Darkseer could wind up mid as well. It's going to depend on what they want to prioritize the most. And on the side of Rattlesnake, just taking out heroes that work exceptionally well with the Shadow Demon. Taking out Leshrac and Juggernaut, actually going to take out the Chen, and I think that indicates exactly what I was talking about. The fact that Rattlesnake has to be very wary of the pressure that MUFC is going to be able to apply early with the engagement potential of a Beastmaster, the strength of a Shadow Demon at all phases of the game, but in particular, Lone Druid, who's Bear with Demolish, is going to be able to start really laying into towers very, very quickly in pretty much every situation. So, taking out the Chen, just wanting to make sure MUFC cannot run a pure push-oriented lineup. They want to keep them out of that and try to buy some time, try to secure map control for that Phantom Lancer. Now, they have 2 extremely strong teamfight heroes in Clockwork and Darkseer. A lot of reach on both of the heroes just because of Surge, if nothing else. Clockwork, of course, with Hook. And Puck going to be banned out from MUFC, and I think that plays into that as well. They recognize the teamfight potential that already exists. They do not want to take a chance on a Puck going mid or anything like that to go ahead and make it harder for them to take towers. Now, what Beastmaster does allow MUFC to do is play a bit more aggressive, if for no other reason that, one, when he hits 6, he has one of the most powerful single-target disables in the entire game in Primal Roar. But aside from that, the vision he's going to get from Call of the Wild, being able to maneuver his Boar and his Hawk around the map, grant them vision, basically free wards anytime they want them. And just having that vision allows you to play a much more aggressive game of Dota. And that's something I think MUFC is going to want to make the most of early on, if for no other reason than to free the map up for the Lone Druid. But again, I suspect that the Lone Druid is going to be a more active Lone Druid. He could do something like go with a Midas build into just the flat-out standard items that you'll usually see on a Lone Druid, be it a Radiance, be it, be it up to an Assault Cuirass or what have you, Skull Basher on the Bear, any number of options available. But I actually kind of favor the idea of a Maelstrom build on the Lone Druid this time, just so he will be able to fight earlier, he will be able to push earlier, and they will be able to play a lot more chest out through the early and mid-game phases. Lena, the 4th pickup out of Rattlesnake. And that's a good pick for a number of reasons. One, they take it away from MUFC. And I would wager that's exactly why they left her in. Probably the most popular combination with Shadow Demon is Leshrac or Lena in terms of just pure lane dominance and how much pressure those heroes can lay on a tri-lane, be it offensive or defensive, just because of the potency of being able to follow up the disruption with a Light Strike Array or with a Split Earth. So they knew they had the first pick coming out of the ban phase. They banned the Chen just to go ahead and take care of another problem. Then picking the Lena up, not only does that give them a very high tier support with a lot of versatility and flexibility, but it takes it away from MUFC without having to ban it. So very solid drafting so far out of Rattlesnake. We were going to be the pickup from MUFC. That, I mean, already they were going to have a lot of mid-game potential depending on how they decided to build that Lone Druid. But with the Weaver up now, Weaver's one of those weird heroes that, depending on his start and depending on how you play him and what you really want to prioritize with him, he can actually do a lot of damage. He's almost impossible to track down unless you have someone dedicated full-time to the job by building a Scythe of Ice or drafting someone with an extremely strong long-duration silence. And a Shikuchi spam is really, really solid just in terms of being able to force people off of towers if you want to try to take towers early. And again, I think that does play into that. Gyrocopter going to round out the 5 from Rattlesnake, like that pickup a lot. And this is when I see Phantom Lancers tend to do the best. Now, keep in mind, Gyrocopter can be played as a support, so that very well could be a support Gyrocopter. Their lanes still haven't really materialized, depending on what kind of pressure they're expecting out of MUFC. MUFC has a lot of versatility built into their lineup. Lone Druid, Beastmaster, and Weaver can all three pretty well a long lane. They can pretty effectively long lane, I should say. And all three can also benefit from farm. Beastmaster, actually all three can go mid as well. All three do well in a solo situation, even if they are outnumbered for the most part. So very difficult to anticipate their lanes. Picking up the Sand King, going to give them even more mid-game potential. A lot of magic damage going to be coming out from this team. And I'm really anxious to see how they want to lane this out. Still really hard to predict. Rattlesnake, I mean, being up against the Lone Druid, I suspect they're going to try to put a lot of pressure on that hero. Phantom Lancer with a little bit of help can do okay. I actually see this being, potentially being a situation where a Gyrocopter goes mid, Lena supports the Phantom Lancer, then maybe a Clockwork and Darkseer going long lane if they're anticipating an offensive tri-lane, just so they can try to hold the Druid down. They could also run a Clockwork support, which is not completely unheard of, or it could be a Gyrocopter support in their tri-lane as well. Just really comes down to what their priorities are going to be. And based on the lineup that MUFC is showing us, they're going to need to, the storm they have to weather, their biggest concern is almost certainly going to be the mid-game. Worrying about the team fight potential coming out. Beastmaster going to be able to lead off each and every fight. Shadow Demon, of course, with Disruption, going to be a great hero to start fights as well. Sand King with Burrow Strike and Epicenter to follow it up. That's, I mean, again, there's a lot that they're going to be able to bring to bear once they break through this laning phase. The laning phase is going to determine a lot, though, and the one thing that stands out for MUFC is their lineup is not quite as forgiving if any particular hero or group of heroes has a bad start. Much of Rattlesnake has a great level 6 team, we'll put it that way. Even if they're a little slow getting there, just the strength of combinations and synergies, like Vacuum Wall and Call Down, like Light Strike Array to follow up a Vacuum, to say nothing of Cogs, which can heroes can be vacuumed into. And just basically the ability to hold towers with the pure AoE potential they have. And you can tell that's what MUFC had in mind as they drafted out their last few heroes. Sand King is a great hero to negate that, especially if he is given a little bit of a farm priority, and just enough to get himself up an early set of Arc Boots and a Blink Dagger. And they could actually, if they wanted to, now that I think about it, they could actually mid that Sand King if they really want to. And I wouldn't mind that. I really wouldn't. Draskell and I, whenever we broadcast the D2L, we talk a lot about anytime we see a Sand King pick. He's a hero who, he can play a hard support and kind of a roaming ganker type, but when you see Sand Kings have exceptional games, when you see them really capitalize on their potential in a big, big way, it's almost always because that Sand King is given some sort of a situation where he's going to be able to suck up a little bit of farm. It looks like we have a little bit of a pause here. So while we have some downtime, I want to once again thank each and every one of you for joining us here on this Sunday morning. If you're on the East Coast, possibly. Well, I guess it's pretty much Sunday morning, or it's a little bit past Tuesday evening if you're on the West Coast. But if you're out in Asia, it's probably in the afternoon for you. And if you're in Central Europe, it's right around morning as well. Should be, if I'm not mistaken, a little bit after 8 in the morning. So much love to you joining me bright and early. And once again, I am going to be rolling solo, at least for this first game. And I love my buddies. I love my pro player friends. They all want to cast until I ask them to get up early. Then they say, no, I'm not going to do it. But while we have a little bit of downtime, I want to go ahead and encourage you to pop over to the Coverage Hub. And the Coverage Hub is, of course, actually, let me double check and make sure I get it right. I always forget it if I don't have it. It is G1.2p.com. Sometimes I reverse them. You have the G1.2p.com. You have your Coverage Hub. You can select your casting channel. You can watch myself, or you can watch Beyond the Subbit. If you're a Russian speaker or what have you, you can tune into Vlad or whoever happens to be filling in for him. But there's a lot of coverage there as well. A lot of interviews, some write-ups, cool articles, and all that fun stuff. And the most recently implemented feature, the ability to interact in real time with other fans and viewers of the G1 via your Twitter page. There's a Twitter embed, and you can interact with us as well. Myself, Beyond the Summon, all of us are going to be tweeting in between matches and during downtime. So if you want to tweet at us, we'll do our best to answer your questions, to talk to you, and it'll all be displayed right there, right below the Casting Hub, dead center in the page at g1.2p.com. Very nice way. Very nice way to take your interaction and your involvement. in the G1 League to the next level. Looking ahead to our next match, following the conclusion of this match, it'll be at 7:30 Eastern Daylight Time. That'll be 12:30 in the afternoon if you happen to be in Central Europe, or 7:30 p.m. if you're on Singaporean time. We're going to have Chainstack taking on Rising Stars, and I actually didn't get to see Rising Stars in action, which breaks my heart. That was the series I had to miss because my internet decided my ISP decided it hated me and went out for 12 consecutive hours, which led to, well, I'll put it this way, much mad was had, and much mad was expressed to them via the phone, but so far, everything seems to be okay, at least for today. But anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing that series. Should be a real good one. This, of course, I would say is probably the headlining series of the day, just because of some of the star power involved, especially between Lanham and Winter. Winter, a fantastic player, a great caster who co-casts over on Beyond the Summit, so make sure you tune into them once in a while to hear his insight. And someday, I'll have a co-caster again. It's, see, Beyond the Summit's got the jump on me, man. They like, on the West Coast, it's midnight, so it's like they can just stay up late to cast. I can't do that. I gotta wake up at midnight, my time, to be ready to cast at 3 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And if there are more of you who happen to be awake here on this Sunday morning on the East Coast, much love to you guys. I know there are a lot of folks who are at PAX as well, so if you happen to be tuning in and you're in Boston, hope you guys are enjoying the show. Make sure you pop on over and say hello to the Evil Geniuses guys, hanging out, if I'm not mistaken, over at the Astro booth. I was actually going to be there, but had this and a couple of other things to do, so I was unable to attend. Maybe next year, though. I'll be looking forward to possibly show my ugly mug at PAX. So, all right, guys, you know the drill. I'm going to start taking questions because this is like a rain delay and it's baseball. Let's see. I'll go ahead and answer. You guys are on a 2-minute delay, so we'll have to wait, but if you want to ask me questions in the chat, I'll get to them whenever you guys catch up. Let's see. Someone fill me in on these teams. Says, my name is Mud. Sure, MUFC. A team that's in flux. They lost a couple of players to Neolution Orange. And they were replaced. Well, Winter came in. He's the new captain. Then FCFC and Too Good joined. Basically, MUFC is a team that has a pretty well-known name, but is in a complete identity crisis right now. They won their way here through the first part of Phase 2. Now they're taking on Rattlesnake. So MUFC captained by Winter, a guy who casts a lot as well as plays. So make sure you keep an eye on him and all that fun stuff. And keep an eye on him. And not just in this game, but elsewhere. You can follow him on Twitter. I'm not sure what his Twitter account is, but I'm sure you can find him one way or the other. Rattlesnake is a team that they basically self-identified themselves as a new team of old veterans. A lot of experienced and crafty veterans on that squad. They got past Gizmo Gaming in round 1 of Phase 2. And they're spearheaded by Lanham of eHome fame. Lanham, one of the more important players on the former eHome squad that were competitors in the International 1 and 2. So everyone's kind of keeping an eye on them. And Rattlesnake really hasn't played much. So this is a good chance to get in on the ground floor if you want to look for a new favorite team or just want to be ahead of the curve in terms of knowing who's a rising star whenever it comes to the old veterans. So hopefully that has given you at least a little bit of a rundown on where you are. Is this the latest you've ever casted, Ayesee? Asks, it's Chronics. Well, it depends on how you define late. I don't know if this is late or if it's early. I reversed my sleep schedule to cast G1, at least this part of it. So I'm actually going to bed at about 4 p.m. my time and waking up at midnight. So I don't know if you can call it late since I reversed it, but casted Monthly Madness Asia and a few show matches way back in the day, and was waking up at 6, 7 in the morning for those. So I'm not sure how you want to define that. Where is Ayesee broadcasting from? Asks Wonkawar. I am broadcasting from the bustling metropolis of Logan, West Virginia, in southern West Virginia, actually down in Hatfield-McCoy territory. So yes, I'm out in the sticks. I am out in a rural, beautiful part of the world. And it is currently 3:21 in the morning. My time, it'll be 3:23 by the time my voice reaches you because of the delay. Let's see. Continue to read. Ayesee joined GD Studio. I have no plans to join GD Studio. However, I do have plans to visit sometime. Much love to all of those guys. They're doing a great job at the DreamHack Invitational, by the way. Make sure you guys don't miss that. If you're awake, make sure. Even if you aren't awake, catch the VODs. Much love to Draskell, who's, of course, my main co-caster most of the time. He's set up shop permanently in GD, at least for now, and they are doing a fantastic job. What time for me to move to the West Coast? Yeah. Sounds about right. Do you see Invoker and Pro play? Says White Craig. Yes, we do. We actually saw Invoker the other day, and I very much, I consistently mislabeled his Deafening Blast of Sonic Wave throughout that whole broadcast, just because sometimes your brain gets in brain fart mode and you don't manage to catch it until afterwards. So, of course, there will be haters say, LOL, bad caster, called Deafening Blast Sonic Wave. Yeah, it happens, bro. It happens. AC, would you teach me to cast? Asked Fruit Loop. Hey, if you're willing to pay for my time, man, and that's not, I hate to say it that way, but I am busy. I will teach anyone if they bring a checkbook, but I barely have time to sleep as it is. Ever think of becoming a pilot? No, I did not think of becoming a pilot. Maybe someday. Maybe someday. How much was your rig? My rig, well, it depends on what you mean by rig. My PC by itself is about $2,000. It's an iBuyPower machine, and it's pretty nice. I'm pretty happy with it overall. My audio rig runs, if you talk about all of the audio equipment I use, it's between $1,000 and $1,500. But yeah, there's that. AC, how awesome is Caravan Palace? So awesome. So awesome is the correct answer to that. Thoughts on Scotty on Naga? I honestly don't know. I've never seen it. I don't feel confident enough to answer that, having not seen it. So, I mean, that's that. I can see it working in some circumstances. Stack gain would be absolutely excellent, and of course, the illusions, getting the effect would be nice. If that is, I'm not even sure if that's how that works. I think it is. I think it is. Hey, see, you should post it. Oh, I did forget to do that. Oh my goodness. Thank you for that reminder. Yep, I did. I forgot to set the stream status. Oh, sweet mother of God. Oop, no, got to change that. I'm going to do that right now. Thank you so much. I'm going to figure out who it was that said that. I totally forgot to set that to G-1. Oh my goodness, my viewers are awesome. They just reminded me that I forgot to set it on Team Liquid. Let's see, where was it? Thank you, Kometijanak. Much appreciated, my friend. My voice sounds like I'd be a pilot. I should be, you mean like a commercial pilot? Like, we'll be cruising at 35,000 feet over the Pacific Ocean and setting down at 5 p.m. local time. Is that what you're talking about? Am I the son of Barry White? I don't know. I do not know. My mother was a pretty faithful woman, so I doubt it. I doubt it. Is someone going to die if I stop talking? I would die. I absolutely hate downtime. I hate dead air. I worked in radio for a number of years, and dead air is the death of everything. Dead air. Oh, hangs up. Looks like we're catching up now. All right, we are back underway. So, thus is the end of the AC Talk Show. Welcome back to the action. We've got Rattlesnake taking on MUFC here in the G1 League Phase 2, Round 2. Winners of Group A taking on, taking on each other, I guess would be the way to say it. So, as both teams move out, looks like they're heading to different pieces of real estate. How about we take a look at who's going to be handling who? Lanham, the centerpiece of the Rattlesnake squad, going to be handling our Gyrocopter. Darkseer going to be played by Luo. Phantom Lancer will be handled by Ayesee, and Kabu playing on our Rattletrap, playing on our Clockwork Goblin, as well as Sag playing on Lena. On the other side of the river, gonna have Winter, the captain, playing our Shadow Demon, WW. And somebody actually told me, Wang Wang, I think is his name. I may be wrong. Could be Wang Wang. Pretty sure that's it, though. Wang Wang playing on our Sand King. He's a stand-in, looking to possibly earn a spot on this squad full-time. TFG will be playing our Weaver. We're gonna have our second stand-in of the day, Han Trash Player. I'll probably just be calling him Lone Druid for the entirety of this match. And Beastmaster will be played by FZ. Already see Lone Druid setting up shop here. And solo top, I don't think that's too big of a surprise to anyone. In the meantime, we've got Winter and Wang Wang. Looks like they're trying to decide where they're going to wind up depending on the pressure they're under. Kabu and Luo, both hanging around this middle lane right now. This could be a mid-Kabu. Could very easily be a mid-Kabu. And this is on the Radiant side, so their ability to mid-pull is gonna be quite high if they want to do so. And they're gonna get the bear picked off. That's actually not a bad start. Phantom Lancer got that last hit, free 100 gold going his way, and getting the bear off of summon this early on, pretty solid stuff. Can't summon the bear for another 70 seconds or so. In the meantime, Kabu has his cogs down. Beastmaster pushed back under. He's got help waiting in the wings. We do have Winter and Wang Wang rotating their way over. Now down here, we're going to have TFG engaged upon. And does he have a tango? He does. He can eat his way through here. Yeah, and make his way to safety if he wants. And there's more Rocket Barrage. City Ward is down. And Rattlesnake capitalizes on a little bit of hesitation out of our Weaver. And that was Weaver just being greedy, really. He had no reason to sit and wait for him to catch up. In the meantime, the rest of MUFC has rotated down. Shouldn't say the rest, but 2 more from MUFC. And they just got spotted by that sentry ward. So they know exactly what's coming. They've got 2 sentry wards down, so no one going to be surprised by these 2 being here. In the meantime, in mid, we can see FCFC getting up close and personal with Kabu, soaking up as much experience as he can. Not a lot Clockwork can do about that. And our lone druid being left to his own devices. And that's always a liability when you do that. It's no matter how well you're doing elsewhere, leaving a lone druid completely alone to free farm is something you don't want to do. Now, we're going to have a disruption. And that's going to be on Sag. Sag's basically just boned here. And should not get away and won't. Not sure why he thought he could be there. Even with the sentries down, I mean, they had to know after the rotation that these 3 were going to be here. The offensive trial lane potential out of these 3 is actually quite high. And I really like the decision to send Beastmaster mid as well. Especially given it is Kabu. Or the Kabu that he's up against, I should say. Beastmaster's one of those heroes that does not have to have a whole lot of items, but man, does he get good the more items he has, especially if he manages to pick himself something up like a Necro Book plus a Blink Dagger. Gives him so much push and initiation potential, makes it even harder to team fight against him, and tanks him up quite nicely. Not to mention dealing with his mana issue, so we'll be keeping an eye on how he wants to build. Now, the way the Rattlesnake's going to want to handle this tri-lane, there are really 2 options, which is you stay sucked back near your own tower as much as you can, maintain creep equilibrium, and just count on the fact that you have 2 very high damage dealing supports in Gyrocopter and Lena to help zone people out, to help zone MUFC out for the most part, or you actually have the option to just push into them quite heavily with this, because oh, very nice Light Strike Array. Will they be able to clean him up? He's going to be running. There's a sentry right there. He does manage to salve, though, and Wang Wang was waiting just in case not. They guessed wrong. They went south and unable to add another kill to the board. But what they can do, if they want to, is actually push this up under their tower. And, well, now that we see Wang Wang and Winter bailing out, that's not going to be the option they want. But if there are 3 sitting in a lane like they were for a while, you can actually just try to bone them experience-wise by shoving up under their tower and basically daring them to stand around for experience if you feel confident enough in your ability to actively engage under their tower. And that is so annoying. Basically, FCFZ is going to have his mana completely non-existent because of those cogs for quite some time. But he should still have very little problem hanging and banging in terms of last hits. He's actually behind by a bit. 9-14 in this matchup. Now down here, we're going to have TFG engaged upon. Looks like he will be able to make it back to safety. They're beginning to apply some pressure to our lone druid. Now this is the right call. Very fortuitous route. Going to force Luo out much quicker than he would have liked to under most circumstances. But I think the decision to abandon this tri-lane and just say, you know what? Why don't we just go ahead and try and shut down this lone druid? That's going to be the right answer. But lone druid, or excuse me, not try to shut down, but try to protect this lone druid, and then just get your levels up. Just work on getting experience and capitalizing on the inherent mid-game potential you're going to have to begin with. We're going to see a kill on Beastmaster, as Lanham did rotate his way over to mid. Found himself a rune and made the most of it. And so far, Rattlesnake looking pretty good. Their movement is solid. Their decision-making is solid. And this is really important for them. Their showing here today is going to determine how they're viewed for a while. I mean, obviously, if they lose, it's hard to tell when we'll see them next. But if they, I mean, even if they do lose, just putting up some kind of a decent performance is going to have a lot to do with how they're perceived, given how new of a squad they are and how untested they are. And MUFC is a good squad. I mean, obviously, as I mentioned, they're still trying to find their own identity. FCFC's actually caught here, and here comes Lanham. Lanham nuking down the creeps, and now, oh, Rocket Barrage. So much damage. That actually got split off a lot on the creeps, though. He might get away because of that. One creep trailing that fight might be enough for FCFC to get away. Kabu's not going to give it up, though. There the axes go out. Now Kabu's got to bail. Oh, good Rocket Flare. Adds one more kill to the board. Now here comes Sand King. Kabu says, nope, wrong way. Heading to the north, he's got a merry band behind him, all of which are wishing for his death. He's going to run up suicide on the tower. So Beastmaster gets the kill there. But they did manage to bring him down. And that's the big liability of running a gyrocopter and that kind of aggressive positioning. Rocket Barrage is freaking amazing. 690 magic damage whenever Rocket Barrage is maxed out. And even with just 1 or 2 points in, we see it's 2 points right now. We put 1 point into homing missile. Even with just 2 points into it, it is extremely potent. Deals a lot of damage. Even the tanky heroes like Beastmaster. But if there's so much as one creep there to split that damage off, all of a sudden, it doesn't feel as scary. It doesn't feel as hard to deal with. And taking a look at TFG, he's done well so far as he possibly can. I mean, 12 last hits in this situation. He's got as much as the Beastmaster, and he's up against the Tri-Lane. He's also sucked up a decent amount of experience, same level as our Phantom Lancer. So doing everything he can, and given that they did dedicate sentries early on, and he did have a death early on, he's really bounced back and hanging in there quite well. Taking a look at the CS, we can already see that Lone Druid has had all the room in the world. And this is a risky proposition. They've really taken a big chance in leaving him alone. Phantom Lancer is excellent, but what I really hope Rattlesnake doesn't do, what I feel like could be a liability if they do go this direction, is picking up a Radiance on the Phantom Lancer. He's gonna have, yep, we got Luo with the bottle out, so far. But anyway, by getting that Radiance, you just open a pretty sizable window for the enemy team to capitalize on mid-game potential. And that's really easy for a Lone Druid to look at that situation and go, you know what, I've had excellent farms so far. I'm going to rush a Radiance. Mine will probably come out faster than you just because of how well I've farmed. And then I'll go straight for a Maelstrom, and then it'll be on you to defend before you get up any sort of a health-based item. So a Bracer on the way for Ayesee. Usually that's going to indicate, yeah, he should just run over, pick up his mantle now, and he will. Or Robe of the Magi, rather. And here in mid, we're going to have Kabu disrupted. They should be able to pick him off here. Burrow Strike is actually going to be more than enough, so they do manage to pick him off. MUFC applying pressure where they can. In the meantime, this bottom tower being pressured by Rattlesnake. TFG holding to do as much as he can, throwing out what auto attacks he can. Uses his ulti to erase that damage. And now going to pursue out under cover of Shikuchi. And Ayesee left alone with nothing to take those tower shots for him. In the meantime, though, our Lone Druid has taken his first tower. He's got 2,000 gold roughly in the bank. And he honestly has a chance to have a Radiance up at a pretty absurd time if he keeps farming well. So we'll keep an eye on it. He may go Midas as well. I feel like Midas might be a bit of a risky proposition. Just because going toe-to-toe super late with a Phantom Lancer is always a little risky. And Midas would basically just dictate that he is playing 100% for the late game. We'll keep an eye on his inventory. As it stands, though, we are approaching 9 minutes into this game. 6 kills are on the board. And the gold and experience very close. Right around 500 each, moving in direction of Rattlesnake. But even at this stage of the game, that's very negligible. Very, very negligible. Now, what I think is going to begin to happen is we're going to start to see MUFC break down their laning phase. And we can already see Weaver rotating his way up to mid from bottom lane, and Wang gonna go ahead and do, and this is real important for any Sand King player, is finding at least some little opening where you can soak up some solo experience and get some last hits. Get yourself the arc boots you really want, you really need. He's not far from them at all. If that is the direction he wants to go, I would imagine it will be. He'll have those very soon, and yeah, this is kind of what I expected. MUFC now smoked up and moving once again. The Lone Druid having no problem farming all by his lonesome. He may end up going something like phase boots on the bear before he does anything else, just for some stability, just for the ability to teamfight early if he really wants to. Kabu very astutely recognizing that there are bad things afoot, not getting too far close to the lip. Right under his tier 1, little counter warding now out of MUFC. And Phantom Lancer left to his own devices as well. He's about 300 gold out. Now, hang on, Hook's going to connect on Winner. And there's that reach I was talking about, the reach of a Clockwork Goblin. Roar gonna lock him down. Here comes the call down. The Burrow Strike to follow it up, though. Lanham laying the damage, and great vacuum pulled them all together. A gigantic turnaround. Kabu looked dead to rights, but the movement, the teamfight potential, the mid-game potential I was harping on shows itself just past 10 minutes into this game. RS opens things up, looking to take themselves yet another tower. This tier 1 down to about half health. But yeah, everything we saw there, I touched on during the draft, and that's why I really liked their draft. The fact that they have a lineup so well geared to basically fighting by themselves while they leave Phantom Lancer to do his own thing. So long as Phantom Lancer's ready to fight earlier rather than later. Now, Drums I don't mind a bit. What I do not want to see, what I would really worry if we saw, is if he decided to go ahead and start banking up for a Radiance now, which we actually saw the other day. Tranquil Boots Drums and then a Radiance, which delayed the Diffusal in the heart and just completely negated Phantom Lancer's potential in the mid game. He did okay in the late game, but by that time, a set of racks was already down, and they were basically fighting within their own base over and over again. But we do have a disconnect. That's going to be Sag. Disconnected for the moment. Hopefully he'll be back sooner rather than later. We can take a look at the Golden Experience graphs and see that's a sharp arc upwards, and that'll happen whenever you take a big four-kill turnaround in mid and then roll that up into a team fight win. Taking a look at the items while we have a bit of downtime. Luo on his way to a mech. He already has the buckler plus the headdress put together. Has the latest tier 2 boots for the moment. Ayesee, as we had discussed, going Drums first, now looking for his next big item. Would seem that Kabu is, yeah, he's not going to seem it. He has his treads done, so just slowly getting himself scaled well into the later stages of the early game. Going to allow him to toggle for a little extra mana, not to mention the inherent tankiness that comes from having them set to strength. And our Lina, poor as usual. Most Linas, unfortunately, are poor. Taking a look at MUFC's items, we can see Winter. He's hanging out at the Po' Boy house, too. Wang Wang did finish his arc boost, so going to be able to begin saving up for his Blink Dagger now. TFG is going for what I would just say is a pure sustain kind of an approach to Weaver, which means, and I kind of touched on this, where you can farm him and look to just build him as a pure right-click carry, or you can rely on him in mid-game team fights just because of the inherent survivability he's going to have because of his ultimate and because of Shikuchi. He's got a Bassi plus Tranks, that Bassi on the way to a Ring of Aquila, almost no doubt. And still keeping an eye on the Lone Druid to see what he's going to put together. I'm beginning to suspect it's going to be a Radiance. Yeah, I mean, he's going to have his Relic up at about 600 gold. He should be on par for a Radiance to be done around, say, 15 to 18 minutes. And if you can get it out that early, I don't mind it a bit. Especially given how much team fight you have at your disposal. We just saw how devastating this combination out of MUFC can be when they put it together. The vacuum was Rattlesnake rather. The vacuum into the call down. Not to mention, oh, hang on, we're gonna have the Lone Druid engaged upon Kabu's there. Luo ready to follow that up. And that's the big problem with going for something like a Radiance build, banking up that much gold towards it. We can see, I mean, just taking the Lone Druid off the map for that time, that's a big 400, 500 gold swing there. Winter's now going to move down, going to disrupt Phantom Lancer's illusion. And off goes the dust. No real Phantom Lancer there to speak of. In the meantime, Rattlesnake going to go ahead and take the tier 1. But MUFC, that's kind of what I was driving at. They've got a lot of mid-game potential in their heroes, but they've got to put it together and be ready to fight Rattlesnake. Because Rattlesnake is off to such a good start, and again, the synergy that these 4 heroes right here have by themselves, completely in a vacuum, don't even need the Phantom Lancer. The synergy that these 4 heroes have, we saw as they just melted down the entirety of MUFC in mid. So if MUFC doesn't start to do a little bit of pressure, applying a little bit of pressure of their own, Rattlesnake's very quickly just going to take complete map control. They're very quickly going to force MUFC into a defensive posture. And that's not a situation they can really afford to be in right now. You don't want to allow that to happen, especially after you've had your Lone Druid picked off. He's back up and running. Down here at bottom, we see MUFC is looking to get a kill on this Phantom Lancer. Dust in the inventory of FCFC. There's a sentry down as well. And the invis, here we go. There's the roar. There's the axes. They should be able to get him no problem. Soul Catcher's there, but there's the vacuum. They're going to turn it around. Mech got him back up and fighting, and now they're going to pursue out. Laguna Blade comes from the hubcaps. What a hook! Kabu slinging it from the tier 1 connects. Another gigantic turnaround. And MUFC is getting absolutely dominated. Luo adding a couple of kills to his total. 11-3. And they may look to take a tier 2 off of this. MUFC, again, they just never have everyone there. They never have everyone there. Rattlesnake, on the other hand, quick to pull the trigger on movement. Quick to react at the quickest sign of trouble. That's twice now. They've taken gigantic wins just by reacting and being there for their teammates. And Rattlesnake they've just got a great lineup. And it's one thing to pick a good lineup. I mean, yeah, you can look at them, and at this level, everyone's going to pick a good lineup, okay? I mean, for the most part. You'll have some crazy drafts once in a while. But they are executing it and capitalizing on every advantage this lineup has granted them. And MUFC picked a lineup that should be playing aggressive, that should be doing what Rattlesnake's is, but they're now so far behind. They've lost so much map control. Only one tower's down at this point on the side of Rattlesnake, and it's that tier 1 top. So not even one that, compared to the others, is as important in terms of map control. They found themselves with the lineup now, MUFC has, that wants to play aggressive and should play aggressive, but can't, or at least can't do so comfortably without risking these big turnarounds. The gold now up near 7,500 in advantage. For Rattlesnake, 5,000 experience, the advantage for Rattlesnake at this stage. We're just approaching 15 minutes now. Taking a look at the last hits, Lone Druid still tops on the board, so they've got that going for them. At the very least, they have freed up our stand-in here, and he is going to be getting that Radiance. The Relic is complete. He's got 500 extra gold, so not super far out, so long as he stays on pace. Taking a look at the net worth, he's on top of the net worth right now. Phantom Lancer, though. 700 gold in the bank. Don't think he has anything in his stash. So looking to get up his next big item. Right now, I would be really surprised if Rattlesnake didn't just go ahead and build a mid-game team fight sort of a Phantom Lancer. Get up one Blade of Alacrity next. Get going towards that Diffusal. Get that Diffusal up. And at that point, you can just engage and play almost back away from the rest of the squad as they fight. He's got 1,000 gold in his inventory now. He's going to hang on to it, at least for a bit. Rocket Flare spots out the entirety of MUFC. In the meantime, TFG laying into the tier 1 bottom. And if we take a look at Weaver, I mean, Weaver's going to end up being a very important hero the longer this game goes. Luo's going to be there forcing the Shikuchi. And there's the Courier, but no way to pursue that out. MUFC's already in a position where they're having to run defensively as 5. And this isn't where you want to be at 16 minutes into this game. Running as 5 offensively, running as 5 aggressively is where they want to be. But when you're having to stick together very closely as 4 and as 5 on your own side of the map for fear of being engaged upon, it hurts your experience, it tends to hurt your farm, and it certainly hurts your map control. They've lost all tier 1s now. And now Kabu's going to be there. He throws down the sentry, but no follow-up. So Weaver actually is going to be pursued, and he's going to be cogged in. They just have no... There he goes. He finally shows back up. There's the Light Strike Array and the Laguna Blade. Weaver just got busted. That's another death going in the favor of Rattlesnake. And now, looking to counter ward. Should have no problem doing so. And Roshan. Yeah, I mean, there's really no reason that they can't start thinking about Roshan. I mean, hell, Luo has already made a dent towards his Scythe of Ice or a Pipe. It looks like since he picked up the Void Stone, he will be going for something other than a Pipe. But, I mean, just look at the positioning of MUFC. Look at him. Not even anywhere near this tower. Not feeling any confidence whatsoever that they can take a fight. Here comes Wing Wing, going to find Kabu. Now they're going to charge back out. Here comes the TP. Call down's going to be there. No vacuum, though. And Kabu, finally the vacuum comes off. Lanham's there, using a Rocket Barrage to scare them away. And finally, they're able to get a semi-win, and Luo's actually going to eat a pretty bad route. Now, though, TFG's in trouble, has the Shikuchi away. Our Lone Druid having to run as well. Luo fleeing from the epicenter. Lone Druid stays alive, but Phantom Lancer just doing his damage regardless. Wang Wing will be cleaned up. 2 for 1 the trade so far, and everyone has to go running for the well. And once again, Rattlesnake takes a win. The Diffusal was the choice out of Ayesee, which I really, really like. Really love that he went that direction instead of doing something, trying to out-radiance a Lone Druid. Speaking of Lone Druid, Bear does have his Radiance. And that's going to make it a little bit more pressing for Rattlesnake to execute these team fights. Extending the team fight's not going to really be an option they have anymore, so they're going to need to really look for one-off advantages. And yeah, Ayesee's definitely going for a big mid-game win kind of a build. He's already upgraded his Diffusal. Very often what you'll see players do is get the level 1 Diffusal, hang on to it, use the charges. Once the charges get low and you've completed something like a heart, then you go ahead and grab level 2. But by getting it this early, I mean, you get the bonus agility is nice, the bonus intelligence is nice. And it's a relatively low cost to pick that up. MUFC, down to just 2 outer tier towers remaining. Weaver is going with the survivability build. He's added a vitality booster. He actually didn't finish Aqualay. A little bit surprising.
Top tower is under
Usually if you get a Bassi up, there's almost no reason if you're a hero like that to not go ahead, if you're an agility hero, to not go ahead and tack on the Wraith Band just to finish that item out. But as is, feeling a little bit too starved for that luxury. Wang Wang still quite a ways away from his Blink Dagger. And that's really becoming an essential item for them. We saw in that fight, it's not that they don't have any way to initiate. They've got decent ways to initiate, but they're mostly single target initiations. They've got the Primal Roar and Winter with Disruption that they can bank on. But Burrow Strike is really what they're going to... Burrow Strike and Epicenter is really what they want to use for most of their initiation, I would guess. And a Blink Dagger would help them out much, much more. Poor little Hawk drops to the Rocket Flare. Hunting out of season, lock that man up. But MUFC, again, having to play very tight-knit Dota right now. And it is going to be a pipe, actually. Pipe of Insight is on the way for Luo. He just picked up a casual Voidstone. For Sag, he's on his way to his Force Staff. He's not super far away from it now. Making decent progress.
Dire's top tower is under attack.
20 minutes, 45 seconds in. Our lone druid, using that radiance as best he can, still lacks any kind of boots on his bear outside of tier 1s. And we can already see he's been eclipsed by 2 heroes on the enemy team in terms of pure net worth. And that's not really where they can afford to be. They started out trying to apply pressure to this guy right here. It didn't work out, so they rotated over and safely got some experience and some level or some gold for their supports by just allowing them to defensively tri-lane the lone druid. But given the lone druid had a much better start than the Phantom Lancer did, the fact that this is a big turnaround now, I mean, and given that they're trailing, it's just the inherent strengths of Phantom Lancer as a hero. This is not really a situation they can allow to continue. Right now they're playing defensive, but if they're just going to give up their tier 3 or their tier 2s, they may as well just call it. Because they're losing tier 2s and losing more map control is not going to save them. They need to be getting out on the map a little bit more. They need to be laying the pressure on and trying to find a pick and push that will maybe free up something like a Roshan to get them back in this game. Finally, another tower. That's only the second tower that MUFC has been able to take to this point. So they are definitely struggling. Wang Wang just about does have his Blink Dagger, about 500 gold away from it now. FC picked up a gem to go with his treads. And given he was doing okay for the most part in mid, he's even a little anemic right now, sitting down near the bottom. And you can just look at the net worth. The bottom 4 are all on MUFC. That's just problematic. And Draskell and I very often talk about when you look at big wins, hold that thought. And yep, good hook. There go the cogs, and here comes the rest of Rattlesnake. This is not something you can have happen. He's down again. He's still relatively poor. Gonna hurt his net worth potential even more. Gonna hurt his GPM even more. Levels, we can see 3 of the top 4 all belong now to Rattlesnake. And they are just absolutely rolling in every phase of the game, basically. The GPM for the top 5 belong to Rattlesnake. In the meantime, they do manage to take another tier 1, so the tier 1's finally cleared out, but they're going to end up trading away their 1 remaining tier 2 to have made that happen. But be honest, that tower was lost the moment the lone druid died. There was no way they could try to contend that once the druid was down. Wang Wang with his Blink Dagger now complete. Winner clutching his 1 prize possession, his one gift, is Sage's Mask. In other words, I'm saying he's poor. He comes from a bad background. His mother did not take care of him well. Not the player, but in this case, his Shadow Demon. He has shoes that are too small. His clothes don't fit. He's poor. Phantom Lancer with 4,300 gold in the bank. I mean, I'm really shocked at how convincingly Rattlesnake has blown this game open. And Lanham, one of my favorite players, I had the pleasure of casting his famous breakout Tiny game, which really I think should go down in history because that was the debut of the idea of the pure carry Tiny, really. I mean, it had been seen before, but on a stage that big and to have success. So I casted that game, and since then I've been a Lanham fan. MUFC is just such a talented squad. They really are good. And they have made some good plays this game. But their lineup just has not seen its potential come to fruition whatsoever. Very little of what they needed to set out to do has been accomplished. And that's owed both to a little bit of timidity in their play style, I think. A little bit of indecisiveness as to their lanes. Winter and Wang Wang got behind early, shifting around without a real goal. This I love, though. I absolutely love. If they don't get busted. If they get busted, it could be GG. Oh, they're going to run. No, they are going to check. And they're going to be spotted out. Here we go. There's the disruption, and there's the hook. The hook goes in. Kabu's got FCFC. Epicenter whiffs on absolutely everything. What the hell was Wang Wang doing? In the meantime, the rest of the team should be cleaned up, will be cleaned up. Rattlesnake going 3-0, 4-0, make it 5-0 if they can track down the Druid.
Dire's bottom tower is under attack.
I'm going to guess the Rocket Flare kept that Sand King from blinking. The absolute failure of MUFC to execute this game and the extremely solid play out of Rattlesnake. Looks like this game might be coming to a close soon. They're going to get an Aegis. They're going to end up putting that on the Darkseer, actually. It's a little surprising. Darkseer with his pipe and his mech done. Has an Aegis. Lanham added the Shadow Blade quite some time ago. Phantom Lancer now with a Heart of Tarask complete. And I'm really it's that moment where I'm going to go back to the gold graph. Let's see. Let's take a look at the damage, shall we? Eek. 15,000 gold in favor of Rattlesnake right now. 15,000 experience in favor of Rattlesnake. And at this point, like, MUFC just doesn't even... Their lineup's not bad. I mean, and they still have the Shadow Demon to fall back on. Beastmaster with his Roar, he has added an Ogre Club, so we'll see if he's going to be going for an Ag or a BKB. I'd really favor Ag for him right now, just to make sure he has that ready to roll anytime they need it. Has his Roar ready to roll, I should say. It's a lot of R's. Roll 'em R's. But back to TFG. Slowly putting together his inventory. He's added a Yasha now to go with that Vitality Booster. Casual Vitality Booster, I don't mind a bit on a hero like a Weaver. Gives you a little bit more survivability for a relatively low cost. You can build it into a variety of items later on if you really want to. And then you can just do stuff like go Yasha. And we'll see what he wants to do with his Yasha. Would imagine it'll be a Manta style. But for now, Phantom Lancer, the Cancer Lancer, has metastasized. And is beginning to just rule this game. He's at 14,000 net worth, followed closely by his teammate, the Darkseer, at about 11,600. And that poor Lone Druid. And this is, again, this is why I'm just more and more, and I say this in almost every broadcast I see it, on Phantom Lancer and on Lone Druid in particular. Given the way Dota's played now, given the lineups that most teams draft, I don't like Radiance coming out early on those heroes. I just don't. If it's going to come out at all, it needs to come out early. But this is why. What has that Radiance done? What has it given them? Compare it to, say, a Maelstrom in a lot of these fights. And especially now that they're going to be trying to guard their tier 3. When you're up against a team like this, that is going to have a massive amount of synergy, the ability to lock down and just blow up multiple heroes at once, you have to have items that can stand and fight a little bit better than that in terms of just pure damage output. Tier 3 now down below half. The pipe has already been popped. And they're going to be able to mech here and just fall back if they want. No, they're just going to hang. And UFC not even challenging this so far. If you're not going to challenge your racks, you may as well just GG. I mean, I'm sure they'll come out and fight here in a minute. Yeah, here they come now. There's a disruption on one of the illusions. Try to get an army of his own going. Homing missile connects on the poor Panda, who takes a seat. Rattlesnake playing this very slow, very methodical. Or rocket spam. And there's a root on the illusion. Homing missile connects on the barrel once again. That bear taking a lot of abuse so far. And the slow siege continues. MUFC needs a win here. This is their last stand, basically. They lose this Rax, the game's over. And pipe off, cooldown, back up again. They strung it out a little bit too long. Mech's going to be ready to go whenever they want. Cogs are down just preemptively now. We're going to see the glyph come out, and there's a root on Ayesee. They can do something with that. Ayesee locked down. Can they follow it up? He's just so damn tanky. Love the build he went. Love the fact that he went straight defusal hard after the drums. So much mana, so much health. His ability to sustain in these fights, to regen his health just by falling back off the steps, tremendous. And the Rax now down. Yeah, both Rax are about to drop here. And down goes one. Now here comes the Burrow Strike. Oh, the hook comes in, though. He manages to get the Druid. They're going to try to follow it up. Light Striker Raid. Now, oh, what a great vacuum! Right into the call down on top of the wall. Disruption buys a little bit of time, but not nearly enough. Two are down. Two of the most important, the Shadow Demon and the Lone Druid. And that's going to be our GG, but hey, still pursuing out the kills. GG's come out. Winner finds his G key. What a performance out of Rattlesnake. In a game like this, it's tough to say who came in the favorite, but I think you had to give it to MUFC if you were a betting man, just because their players, their Dame, they're a little bit more experienced on the whole. But for the most part, Rattlesnake, a team that you knew you couldn't sleep on. And Winter and squad did not sleep on them. They just fell over to them, basically. Fantastic game out of Rattlesnake. They took a little bit of early advantage and rolled it up into a 30-minute win, 22-4. The final kill score as the GGs were typed. And MUFC, up against the new team of old veterans, finds themselves one game away from elimination. Gonna have to try and turn it around in a hurry. Rattlesnake, though, looking to get their first big win as a team under their belt and extend their life here in the G1 Champions League. I'm Ayesee. This is on One More Game TV2. Stick with us. Game 2 of this best of 3 coming up next.